I think the buildings give us a sense of history and make life more meaningful. They have a character that today's buildings don't have, and there's a now right now, of course, but there also is a past. And the old buildings and old neighborhoods connect us with that past and the people that came before us. We like to say that it's like a missing tooth when a house goes down, and it's hard to have a good smile with a missing tooth.
It is a balance between change and protection. One question I sometimes ask people is, think about what building we have built in the last 50 years in Bloomington that people will cherish and want to protect 50 years from now. And are we building the right buildings today that people will want to protect 50 years from now? And I think sometimes that's a hard question to answer. You also want to be sure that you do protect some particularly valuable and interesting and notable older buildings, and that preserves in many ways the character of a community.
How do we keep those buildings beautiful? That, you know, Don and I both love the older buildings in this town and the older homes, and we want to keep them preserved and upheld over time because there is the character component that makes Bloomington what it is. So the mill is a wonderful example of the repurposing of a historical building that has a lot of character and a lot of deep integrated history in the city of Bloomington with the modern technology, the future going forward of what we need to do in Bloomington, which is bring more jobs in.
Another building that we saved is the parsonage of the Second Baptist Church on Rogers Street near downtown. That house was lived in by the pastors of the church, and including Ernie Butler, who was a civil rights leader who marched with Martin Luther King. He did the Selma to Montgomery March. So he was right there and a leader in the local civil rights movement for African Americans. So that house is where he lived and where he raised his children, and it really helps tell the story of who he was and what he represented.
Right now, we've been going on 1,000 extra people a year, and not just students. 1,000 extra. That's how much we're growing right now.
It's really important that we expand the number and types of affordable housing that we have for all kinds of people. Some people who have zero income, maybe even homeless, to people who are working hard and maybe have two working folks in their family, but they still can't afford a home in Bloomington. One thing it depends upon is just getting more housing, because as our population grows and people want to come to Bloomington, if we don't build more housing, then prices will definitely go up as more people are trying to fit into the same number of units. The second way we work on affordable housing is to subsidize it, to figure out, maybe it's free land, maybe it's some help with a builder who we can help them with some financing to do affordable housing. Maybe it's rent subsidies, which we do to help people who can't afford a market rate.
Sometimes we need to look at creating history too. So what are we doing with what are we doing with new buildings? Are we making new buildings that are made to look old? Columbus, Indiana, incredible architecture, known all over the world for their architecture, and they do a great mix of new with old, and I love that.
We've been involved in affordable housing. We've so far rehabilitated or built 29 houses through our affordable housing program. But in general, historic preservation helps because the buildings we're preserving, for the most part, are smaller buildings. And smaller buildings are more affordable than bigger houses. So it's a way that we can preserve these smaller buildings, more affordable buildings for people who are trying to afford their first house. Some people are building things that fit right in with the context of the local streetscapes and buildings. Some things are being built that don't really fit in. There's been some massive student apartment buildings that have been built that really don't fit the pattern of Bloomington. There's money to be made in this town. There's lots of students that need places to live, and they're willing to pay good money for those places. So it's really attractive for people from outside our community to come in and make money by building large warehouses for college students.
These developers, they're really only, they're not building to beautify our city. Most of these companies, they see Bloomington, they target Bloomington because of the student population, and they see there's money to be made here, and they run the numbers, and the guys that are buying that may never ever see this place. Their job is to put as many people in it as possible, right? Get the numbers up, and then sell it.
If you're seeing it through the lens of economic development and you're looking at the data and you're saying, okay, sure, in the ideal world, we want to preserve this building, but if it's going to cost $5 million to preserve, and for $2 million we could build a new building that's going to house this many more people, well then that's a pretty easy answer, but it's not.
So the balance between protecting great things that we have, but also building new things that are high quality, great design, so that 50 years or 100 years in the future, people will want to protect it. And none of us has the exact right answer for all that. So the main answer is how you do it right, is you involve a lot of people, you have a lot of conversations, and you have democracy, so you vote on things and decide how to do it.
I think Bloomington is the best place in the world. I really do, and I think our job is to try to make it better.
It's about the legacy, it's about the character, it's about a place that's more unique than anywhere else.
But I think the key thing to remember is probably just that they're useful buildings, and just because one person decides they don't want it doesn't mean it should necessarily be torn down. What we're doing is we're protecting our heritage, and we're saving it for future generations, so that the kids 20 years from now or 40 years from now will be able to see the same things that you guys see.
Older buildings and preserving things helps tell the story of our community. You can see it as you walk around, and that's a really neat thing to have in the community.